and yes, we are all there. If we compare, say, 25 years ago, 50 years ago, and in our own lifetimes, the changes are there for all of us to see. Changes are there because in my own country, I remember fighting for gender equality as a young woman, and then working with people like Meera Shiva and others, reproductive rights, so on and so forth, discussing these things. And I feel today times have really changed. But then when you really go in depth study and you feel that have the times really changed? Has it really made the kind of movement and change we all wanted? It has changed, but it has changed not because women wanted it to change, but I feel personally because it suited generally the economic worth of women was being recognized. So it was kind of, let's take it in a stride because it suits everyone. But irrespective of things, yes, times have changed. If we review in my own country, I remember we didn't have sexual harassment at workplace. And for that law, I was one of the initial ones to get into the drafting committees and worked on drafting of that law. At that point in time, in the absence of law, Supreme Court had to pass an order. And in that judgment, they truly made the law. They basically set out what a sexual harassment is, how it is to be conducted, what kind of disciplinary proceedings are possible, how the work will be taken thereon, what kind of committees will be constituted. Virtually, they wrote the law. I mean, and for some vague reason, for many, many years, whatever was written by the Supreme Court should have been acted upon immediately, wasn't acted upon immediately in terms of framing a law. But subsequently it did get framed, certain changes happened. When it comes to laws relating to women and children, and especially sexual offences against women, we had I remember I did one case many, many years ago, 2002. So a girl's eye, a young nurse's eye had been gouged out. And that was a horrid case. I fought that case for 8 years, from trial court to the Supreme Court. And every time I would ask that give that gentleman, not the gentleman, but that accused, death penalty. And the judge will just look at me and say, Miss, where is the law? Under which provision you're talking about? So I'll normally extend the logic of murder. And I'll say if murder has death penalty, then attempt to murder, because attempt to do anything is also an offense and attracts the same kind of penalty. So attempt to murder should be read into this law, and she has survived not because of the grace of the accused, but because of the grace of the God. And that benefit cannot accrue to the accused. He should be punished by treating it as an attempt to murder. But irrespective of these arguments and extensions of this logic, the matter was rejected. And subsequently, we got another case which was as horrid. And that somehow changed the mindset of lawmakers. And we all got together and changed the law and brought death penalty in the aggravated circumstances. Unfortunately, I don't know whether it's the same in your country, but we sometimes have some women who are human rights workers, but they somehow tend to forget the human rights of women and they say no death penalty. I personally don't agree to that concept that accused be let off and be a problem for all the women subsequently. But I'm happy and satisfied that country came together and changed the law. But personally, it was a moment of some kind of satisfaction that in my lifetime I saw the change. And I saw this happening because I saw the change when the first case happened. I saw how media started covering with greater sensitivity, with greater support for the victim. Earlier that was lacking, and from there we moved on to seeing the death penalty added in aggravated circumstances as a punishment which was non-existent. We saw the change in laws relating to young children being violated, POCSO, and we saw that, and very severe penalties have been awarded, and many people have been given that kind of punishment. We've seen expedition of trial. We've seen how child witnesses are to be protected. So changes have happened. I would be wrong if I say no change has happened. This change has happened in my lifetime. From the time when I genuinely started thinking and subsequently to the person I have become. But there are gaps, and I feel the gaps are in terms of execution of processes. Gaps are in terms of financial security of women. Gaps are in general acceptance of women, definitely is far greater. But somehow the pyramidal ladder is so steep that many a times many women slip to the bottom, and those things need to be acted upon. So it's not just the laws. Today I can say my laws in the sense my country's laws are very women friendly. And I remember having a conversation with somebody from Europe, and they were trying to put us down when the sexual offences were being discussed. So they said in Delhi, especially because I represent Delhi, is the capital, is the rape capital and things. And I said, you are wrong because you're not touching the data, you're not reading the data right. We are not the capital. On the contrary, it's New York which is the capital. I went to Bahrain and similar kind of discussion happened, and I said, check your own data. So this is kind of misrepresentation which is happening. Not that we should be competing on bad terms. We should not be competing, even if there's one case that is bad enough and we all must get together to get justice for that woman. But irrespective of that, when targeted methodologies are adopted to tarnish certain countries for the crimes which have been committed and which are one of such crimes. I mean, we are 150 million people. A few things go wrong in that number of people, but overall the scenario has changed. Maternity benefits have increased. We are the only country which gives 26 weeks of leave to the women during pregnancy. We give the maternal benefits and Matrutva Seva, which is 6,000 rupees will be given to a pregnant lady. The gender budgeting has somehow happened, and I remember fighting for all those things which are happening right in front of me. I used to say, let's get how much money has been spent on women. And I remember 2000, I was in finance minister's office and fighting with him rather on top of my voice, and then would just brush it aside. But today you have schemes where if government welfare scheme, you're getting a house, the house will be given in woman's name, not in the man's name. If you have a gas connection, it will be given in the woman's name, not in man's name. If you have scheme where loans are being given, it will be given to women group, and 75% of Mudra Yojana loans have gone to women. So every governance aspect is today becoming women-centric, and which is such a satisfying moment because you're watching the change happen in front of your eyes. And whether it's agriculture or it's space, I remember having a conversation many years ago. Not that I'm the last one to judge anyone on their dressing sense. I won't do that. But one lady I still remember was a journalist, a young girl who, from one of the fancy papers, walked up to me and she said, "What is empowerment for you?" I say, empowerment for me is women my age, dressed the way they are, and having the ability to make their own decisions. And that is empowerment. He said, no, but somebody made some comment about jeans and t-shirt. I said, give a damn to those statements. But not that every woman who's jeans and t-shirt clad is empowered. That is the statement I would like to make. Because empowerment also means having the autonomy over yourself, not being subjected to psychological violence also is as much part of the whole thing. And I said, when I see these scientists, and that time we had done Mars mission, and before that I think Chandrayaan-1 had happened. So I said, when I see these ladies in the space center with veiny in their hair, my size, my girth, wearing nice sarees and working on missile programs, I think that is empowerment for me. And those are the women who I look up to, and I say that is the sense of empowerment, because the sense of empowerment has to be balanced with the cultural norms, with the societal norms. Women having the ability and concern to do what they want to do, and those changes are the changes which we are all looking forward to. And with these words, I leave you all, because there is actually a parliamentary delegation which is in the city. I was committed to be there, and I was committed to be here, and the timing somehow clashed, so I need to leave. Last comment I want to make, because that's something which I thought when I was sitting there, and when Ms. Sharifa was speaking, and that was that I recently wrote a fiction, and that fiction is called New Delhi Conspiracy. And I think there's some shortage of the books. The first one has gone off the racks. But when I was researching, I found, which I didn't know, that 1823 and 1897, between this period, George Eliot, all of us have read George Eliot, but nobody knows that the George Eliot was actually Mary Evans. None of us knew that. And she had to write as a man. And that was my comment. I say, look, I stand here. I have a co-writer who's a male who works as my PA. We both worked together, and we were both working at night. And the times definitely have changed. That I can have an assistant, a man assistant, a male assistant, and my name is what will sell. So times have changed and people are accepting that change. Otherwise, women have to adopt a male identity even to do something as pious as writing. This is how the times have changed. With these words, thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.